It has been a head-spinning 24 hours in the Middle East. Here to discuss is a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Thank you so much for being here, sir. I do, before we talk about some of the other issues, want to start with your reaction to the fact that 3 U.S. service members were killed as part of this operation. 5 others are seriously wounded.
Well, it is no doubt tragic anytime American servicemen and women lose their lives, and when a nation engages in military conflict, unfortunately, casualties are part of the risk calculus. President Trump's decision to go into Iran and to go in with overwhelming force is the most consequential decision of his presidency. I believe it was the right decision. I spent the entire day with him Friday, the day before he launched this attack, and he and I discussed it at great length. And I think the president is acting to keep America safe and to make America safer. Iran, for 47 years, has been the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. They provide over 90% of the funding for Hamas. They provide over 90% of the funding for Hezbollah. They have killed nearly 1,000 Americans over the course of the years. And the president is acting now decisively, finally, after 47 years, to remove this theocratic, homicidal regime that had set its goal clearly and unequivocally. The goal, the Ayatollah would chant regularly, "Death to America." Well, that Ayatollah is no longer able to deliver on that promise that he had made.
And Senator, what you say about Iran and how diabolical the regime is, no question, and it has been that way for decades. President Trump says, in terms of the timing, why now? One of the reasons for striking Iran is that they could soon have a missile that would reach the American homeland. I had the Vice Chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, on this program earlier. He said he saw no intelligence that supports that claim, that there is an imminent threat. Have you seen anything that supports that, or did the president tell you that when you were with him on Friday?
Well, Iran has a very significant cache of missiles, both short range, medium range, and they're working on long range missiles. Much of the military strikes that are being carried out right now are taking out those missiles, in particular the southern missile belt the United States is focusing on. Iran has been building roughly 100 missiles a month. And so one of the military objectives of this action is to take those missiles out. Those are the very same missiles that they're firing right now at just about every other country in the Middle East. They're attacking all of their neighbors indiscriminately. And this action, we've seen Israel has launched over 1,200 airstrikes in the last day. The United States has launched more than 900 airstrikes in the last day. This is focused on taking out that missile capacity, degrading their military capacity.
Right.
But critically, you asked why now. Let me tell you why now. Because this is the opportunity where the regime is at the very weakest point it has been for 47 years. Last year, Iran lost the 12-day war. Tyrannies stay in power by convincing their people, convincing their enemies that they are invincible, that they cannot be defeated. And there are real-world consequences to losing a war, not just political messaging and spin. If there is anything possibly worse than losing a war for an Islamist dictator, it is losing a war to Israel. And Israel clearly, unequivocally defeated the Ayatollah in the 12-day war. And President Trump sent our bombers to take out their nuclear facilities and did so with incredible success. That means what I urged President Trump on Friday. I said, this regime is teetering. It is hanging by a thread. Do not miss this opportunity, because removing this regime that wants to murder us. Remember, this Ayatollah has for months hired hitmen with the stated purpose of murdering President Donald J. Trump. Removing this regime from power makes America much, much safer.
So just to be clear, your argument for the why now is the weakness of that regime, not the imminent threat of the missiles that they have had and they've been building for a very long time.
That's precisely the argument I presented to the president, is this opportunity is here, it is now, and removing the Ayatollah makes America much, much safer.
That's different from what the president said and what the administration is saying, which is that there was an imminent threat from Iran.
Well, the president has said repeatedly, if you look at his 8-minute speech laying out the basis for this attack, he went through the 47 years of massive animosity, of murder, of terror. This is a regime over and over again that has made the decision to murder Americans, to murder our allies. They, right now, the most significant threat of violence right now is Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis, which are the proxies that are controlled and paid for by Iran. And those proxies, they target Americans and they target Israelis and our other allies. We're seeing that unfold right now. And by the way, they're not just limited to the Middle East. One of the reasons the president went and arrested Maduro is because Maduro had welcomed Iran, had welcomed Hezbollah into Venezuela to be a terror base potentially against the United States. And so this is the president acting as a strong commander-in-chief, fulfilling his responsibility of protecting the American people.
I have to ask about the differing views, let's say, inside your party about whether this is the right thing to do. Starting with the president himself campaigning on and saying in his inaugural address that there would be no more wars. And there were a fair number of Republicans who voted for him, liking that promise. Tucker Carlson is somebody who liked that promise. He told ABC that the president's decision to strike Iran is, quote, absolutely disgusting and evil. Your response?
So I will say your quote of the president was slightly off. He did not say there would be no more wars. He said there would be no more forever wars. Those are very different things. I emphatically agree with him. You are not going to see a major U.S. troop presence in Iran. He and I talked about that on Friday, talked about Israel leading many of the attacks. We talked about targeted airstrikes, taking out the military capacity of the regime to attack the protesters. And I also urged arming the protesters so the people of Iran could fight back, because they were
Is that going to happen?
slaughtered.
That was one of my questions. Is
Forever
the U.S. going to help
wars,
them?
I hope so. I do not know for sure. I did not get a clear answer on that. That is what I advocated for. Look, Tucker Carlson, as President Trump has said, Tucker Carlson is a kook. He's an isolationist. His views are fringe. And Tucker Carlson has spent the entire Trump presidency attacking President Trump, attacking his foreign policy, because Donald Trump is not an isolationist. He's not interested in sending our sons and daughters to be in extended wars and have major casualties. But he does understand that when faced with a serious threat, you act. It's why President Trump bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran. It's why President Trump arrested Maduro. And it's why now President Trump is acting decisively to take out a theocratic lunatic who pledges death to America. That's not a forever war. That is a commander-in-chief fulfilling his responsibility. And I think the Tucker Carlsons of the world represent a small fringe group in the Republican Party. I'd like them to be smaller and more fringe. I think they are wrong, and I think they are projecting their isolationism onto the president, and they're lashing out at President Trump because he has rejected their views as foolish and naive and misguided. And ironically, Tucker Carlson's views on Iran are the exact same as Barack Obama's views on Iran, and both of them are wrong.
Senator Ted Cruz, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
When we come back,